Things have been busy. That's why this house is a mess. Welcome back. My name is Zach Sopak, and recently I got the opportunity to go to a really cool event put on by Sony. This is the Sony Kando event that happens annually, where it's like basically an international event, where Sony will bring out a bunch of different creators from all different sort of genres. And, you got YouTubers, you got tech people, you got people who are into conservation, you got directors, so many cool people congregate to one area and they get to experience a lot of cool things. Sony kind of gets to wine and dine people, give them a good time, and also get to experience the opportunity to use new gear, specifically gear that's brand new that they announced the event, which I'll talk about in a second. This is one of those events that many creators want to be a part of, including myself. I've wanted to be a part of this for a few years now. I see a lot of the people that I follow, that I admire their work, being a part of cool things like Sony Kando, and I'm like, man, I want to have that sort of an opportunity. Now, one thing that was unique about this year's Kando event is that they opened up each of the 3 days to 25 different people per day. So if you were somebody who's in the photo video space, in the Sony space in particular, there was a chance that if you had a friend who was going to the event, that you could get a day pass for one of those days. My friend Ben Johnson, who I've known since middle school and have been walking along with him on the YouTube journey for some years now, got an invite to this event. The second thing that worked in my favor for this year's event is that it was in Santa Barbara, California, which is about a 40-minute drive from where I currently live. So I had somebody who was going to the event and I had proximity to the event specifically. I was very fortunate to be one of the 25 people who were able to come on the second day of the Sony Kando event, where they announced the new 85mm G Master lens. Going into the event, I was definitely excited and a bit nervous, only because you're meeting these people, like I said, that you kind of like put on the pedestal of, man, I know that guy, I know him, I know her, like I follow their stuff, I like it, I comment on that like all the time, I'm subscribed, I follow what they do, and it's kind of like interesting because like you're having conversations with people acting like trying to like play it cool, like, oh, what are you doing in life, after I know that you just did like a road trip and you were testing out like all this new stuff. After meeting some really cool people, we ended up going into the main hall for the unveiling of the new Sony 85mm f1.4 G Master version 2. The presentation hall was really cool. They had like a PlayStation 5 area, and they had like a gear rental area where you could rent the new lens, or you could rent different camera bodies, different types of lenses of all, this normal Sony offering. They did this whole presentation with a really cool video that was all shot on the Sony Burano camera and the new 85mm f1.4. And the video was sick. Like the editing, the colors, the sound design, everything was just top notch. It was really, really cool to watch. As far as the reception of the new lens being announced, it was interesting because it kind of seemed a little underwhelming, I think, for a lot of the people who were there. Sony already had an 85mm f1.4 G Master lens. This one basically updated the autofocus. It was even sharper and it had better out of focus elements, that nice soft bokeh. Right after the presentation, you could rent one of those 85mm, but when we went into the line, they were all out. Then they had some other ones that were stored in the back, but they were reserved for more of their Sony ambassadors, which I understand. Give them first dibs, they're your ambassadors. But it was just kind of like, I could see it and I want it and it's right there, but we weren't able to get our hands on it. Later on, like an hour or two later, we were able to come back and manage to get our hands on one, which I was able to personally rent myself. And that was really cool because I wasn't invited to the entire event. I was just there for the day, but I still got the same sort of treatment when I arrived, to be able to rent the lenses, be able to rent out another camera body or another lens. And they were able to put me in the system, and I was still able to get the access. So even though I was only there for a day, I still kind of got that same experience as those who were attending the entire event. From that point on, you could take the lens and go wherever you want to test it out. Sony had a lot of really cool things that were set up for you to test the lenses out. out. They had like a synchronized swimming area. So we did some of that, but then we also opted to just do some more of our own shooting. So we would just kind of like find little paths and a bridge, go on a walkway, and we we're just kind of like cruising around, just seeing like other creators capturing content, doing podcasts, just doing fun and ridiculous types of setups. And it was just a really cool experience to like be in that place where you're just surrounded by people who are creating content, which was really refreshing for me, because when I'm doing it, I'm largely doing it by myself, whether I'm kind of out and about shooting or mostly when I'm just in my house, normally in the dark when the kids are down for bedtime. After a full day of shooting, Sony had a really nice dinner that was set up at one of the restaurants there at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel that was overlooking some bluffs there on the Pacific coast. There we got to chat and just connect with more creators. I got to connect with a few people who I'd really been admiring for a long time, and it was just kind of a cool opportunity to just be like sitting next to them and like joining in conversation and just kind of like laughing and cracking up with each other. It was just, again, like really kind of surreal, really kind of awesome. I was kind of 50-50 on like, this is really awesome. I feel really fortunate because I do, but also battling some of the little bit of like that imposter syndrome, which is kind of ridiculous because you're just there to be you, they're there to be them, and like it's cool to see what people are doing, but when you sit down and talk to these creators, you realize that they deal with a lot of the same sort of like mental struggles, and everybody's just trying to like figure it out as we're going, which brought me a lot of encouragement, because even though I don't do this full time, I still kind of am battling and kind of processing through things just like somebody who is doing it full time, who is established in the scene and on YouTube or on social media. After dinner, Sony had some really cool stuff set up to do some more like nighttime shooting. Like I said, kind of like film set, photo sets. Like it was just really over the top, like in the best way possible. Really cool stuff. But Ben and I just kind of ended up hanging out with a bunch of different people, and I got a chance to chat with some more creators that I never really met before. Got to have tons of laughs and just really good conversation, and that was really the most important thing to me. It wasn't how many things of content could I record or like video ideas that I had, or like, you know, trying to bother or meet certain people. It was just like I wanted to make genuine good connections, and I wanted to meet people who I admired, or meet some new people that I just had never heard about, but now I really truly do admire. And leaving Sony Kando, I just had this overwhelming feeling of just gratitude and feeling really blessed and fortunate that I had the opportunity to be able to at least go to the event for one day and to participate in it, because it's just something that I personally have been dreaming about for a few years now. Like I mentioned before, Ben Johnson is like genuinely one of my really, really good friends in life. I've known him since well before YouTube, when we used to create and do loads of other things. He was actually the guy that got me introduced to cameras in general. Like before I owned a camera, he let me use one of his Sony cameras, and that kind of like got the creative bug going for me. And ever since he got his first invite to a Sony event, we'd always talked and really dreamed together about the day we'd be able to finally do something like this together. And so for me, it was a really special day, because it was a dream realized that I hadn't been dreaming about for, you know, just a few days. Like I'd been dreaming about this for years. And so to actually have that happen with one of my best friends was truly special, and I am hopeful that in the future we'll get to do it again, because it's a ton of fun, and I'm leaving very inspired. I'm leaving very motivated and excited for what the future holds. But I want to leave just a little bit of encouragement for anybody who has a desire to be a part of different types of events like this. Number one, if you don't get an invite, that doesn't mean that your content isn't valuable or doesn't provide value for people, or even honestly for a brand. Number two is that you don't have to have hundreds of thousands of subscribers or followers to get an invite to these events. It's just kind of like, I don't know, it's just kind of a timing thing, or who you know that will help to open those doors for you. But I always just believe it's always in God's timing on whether or not something's going to happen. And honestly, if it should happen at the right time. I'm not sure if you can hear it, but my son just woke up from his nap, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up real quick. If you got value out of this video, go ahead and add some value right back to it by hitting that like button. It certainly helps out. And subscribe to this channel, join the pack, be a part of the community as we continue forward and as more exciting things are on the horizon. And I appreciate your viewership. I appreciate you sticking around to watching the end of this video. Yeah, I'm just very pumped for the future. It's bright and I'm very excited, and I really hope that I get to go to the next condo. He's crying, so I'm gonna go get him. But until the next time, my name is Zach Sopak, and I'll see you in the next video. Ooh. Here he is. You got anything to say? A word of encouragement? Okay, I don't want him to eat that.